Hey guys, welcome to Coffee and a Chat. And yeah, there we go. All right. So today I want to share with you about another miracle that happened in my life. I believe we're in a day and time when we're going to be seeing more and more of the supernatural of God, and we're going to see amazing, unexplainable miracles. And I almost feel like people are more open to hearing them because sometimes when you try to share a miracle with people, they can look at you like, right, okay. And they don't always get it. But I've had some extraordinary things that God has done in my life. I've had some experiences. I can't remember what the video is called, but I know I did a video about, I think It Wasn't My Time. I think that's the name of the video, about the time when my car actually went through somebody else's car, like they became vapors, and God spared our lives, both of us. And, and that was pretty mind-blowing and mind-boggling. Well, this miracle happened years even before that. And I do think I have felt at times like there is an assignment against me, like the enemy has worked overtime to try to take me out, but God has kept me right where I need to be. So here's another miracle that happened. So this was back when I didn't have my son yet. We just had the two girls, and they were 3 and 5, I think, at the time. And my husband was the interim pastor for a church a few hours away from our house. If you went by the way of the highway, I think it took around 3 hours to get there. And so we were just temporary pastor while they were trying to find their permanent pastor. And anyway, as the temporary pastor's wife, it was my job to lead this lady's Bible study thing each week. And we made a party out of it. We'd always have like a potluck and kind of make an afternoon of it. This was in the summer, this particular day. And so the teenage girls would come to the church and play with the little kids, and so that the moms, could have this time together. And we'd bring all the kids in and we'd all have lunch together. And it was a lot of fun. And I really looked forward to, I think it was Thursdays when we did it. But anyway, I looked forward to it. Well, this particular day was a little bit challenging, trying to get out of the house with these two little girls. And, if you have little kids, you know that it can sometimes be very challenging. And so I got very kind of sidetracked and distracted, just trying to get these girls in the car, trying to get what we were taking for potluck into the back and get it set so it wouldn't spill. And, we, there was a shortcut we could take over these hills. Now, there was nothing up in these hills except open farmland where they mainly grew like wheat and stuff, different grains. And this was in the summer. It was a desert type area. It was very hot. But I could drive over those hills, and it was only like 75 miles or something like that. So I could do it I think in an hour and a half or something like that, to take this shortcut rather than going the long way around, which there is a quicker way there now, but back in those days there wasn't. And so I was taking the shortcut, but I didn't want to be late. I'm like, come on, girls, we got to go. And maybe when you would go over these hills, you would pass, back then, maybe 2 or 3 farmhouses, but usually there was nobody around or anything because they were out in the fields or whatever. I mean, this is something where you would drive for a little over about an hour and a half, and not really see anybody. You would be alone up there. Very unlikely you would even pass another car. But that also made it really great for for a shortcut. So we finally got everybody in the car. We got everything situated, and off we went. So we're going up over the hills, and we get up into the hills, and then, I remembered I needed to stop to get gas. I was out of gas. I was on empty. And I was, even amazed that we had gotten as far as we were, because I was on empty. I knew it the night before. And my husband said, make sure you get gas before you head up over those hills, because there's no services or anything. This was before cell phones. There was no way to call for help. We could end up being really stranded and in a bad way. Well, we're already up in the hills, like, we couldn't even get back. And, and I look at the gas gauge, and it was, when it goes below empty, because there's no grace left in the tank, that's where we were. And I was like, oh no. So I got a little scared. Didn't want to be stuck up in these hills and out in the beating sun that was hot, no shade. I mean, there's no trees around or anything where you're going to find shade or anything. And like I said, very unlikely we would even be near a farmhouse. And, and I wasn't sure what to do. And so I just was like, Lord, this is my fault because I got distracted and I forgot that I needed to get gas. And so here we go. And I don't know what to do. And, I need your help. I need you to provide a miracle. And so I had said something to my girls, do you believe God can give us a miracle? Because they're like, what's wrong, Mommy? And, I go, do you believe God can give us a miracle? Yeah, he can. What do we need? We need gas. And so we need to pray that he'll get us over the hills to a gas station. And then, everything will be okay. But and so I had them, we were singing hymns and, songs and stuff about Jesus and trying to really keep my focus on the Lord. And I thought, okay, so when I get to the other side of the hills and we go down the hills, off the hills into town, it's only like another 3 to 5 miles to town, and there would be gas stations. And I'm trying to think where the nearest gas station once I hit town. It was a very little town. And, I might be a few minutes late to the church, but I've got to make sure we've got gas. And, and I'm just praising God and just thanking him because we just kept going. And I was like, Lord, I mean, there's no sense in stopping. So I'm just going to keep driving until we totally run out. And I'm trusting you to get us help. So I just kept driving and I kept driving and I kept driving. And we got all the way over the hills and we're coming down the other side. And which was a really steep grade, but we were coming down that, and I was like, oh, praise the Lord. I can't believe, I mean, there's a miracle right there that we drove on fumes for over an hour. Now, some people, they don't believe in miracles and they may say, well, there probably was still gas in the tank and just your gas gauge was broke. Oh, I don't think so. So as we come down, I see at the bottom of the hill, there's this gas station sitting there. And I'm like going, now that's weird. I don't remember that gas station being there, but we hadn't, we were still new in doing all this and I hadn't driven it that many weeks. So maybe I just, had forgot. And so I was like, thank you, Lord, there's a gas station there. And so as I got to the bottom of the hill, I'm driving into the gas station and the car puts out and dies right in front of the fuel tank, or, where they fuel you up, the gas pump. And so I'm like praising God. Girls, he gave us our miracle. Well, then the miracle gets better, right? Because the man comes out that runs the gas station, and I saw the name up on the gas station, like Butch's Gas or whatever. I don't remember what it was, but let's say Butch's Gas. And so this man comes out and he's like, you need some gas. And I'm like, yeah, I'm on fumes. He goes, I see that. You just kind of died right here, didn't you? He goes, couldn't have parked it better. And he goes, you're just exactly where I need you to be. And, how much do you want? And I'm like, you're going to pump the gas for me, kind of asking the question. He's like, oh yeah. He goes, we still pump gas here. And because it was a state that had back then had approved, that you could pump your own gas. And so you always had to pump your own gas. So I thought, well, thank you, Lord. You not only provided, the ability to get us to the gas station, but now you're even going to have somebody else pump my gas for me. And I don't even have to get out of the car. And oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so I can't remember if I had him fill it or if I just had so much money. And I do remember gas was like, no, I don't remember how much it was. I want to say it was like 99 cents a gallon, but I don't know. Anyway, but it was light. Are you guys praying for me to figure this out? I do have it kind of figured out, but I've got to get the right chord to do what I need to do that I think will solve this problem. Another story. Bird dog. Back to the story. Okay, so this guy, he pumps the gas, however much it was. I give him the money. And we drive on the last 5 miles and get to the church. And I mean, we're there on time and I'm just like really thanking the Lord. And so we go in and everybody's setting up for it. And we, the potluck that we would have after our little ladies study time. And so, the kids go to play. And so I believe when you go to church, you should be an active participant. I think that's what God wants for us, not to be spectators, but that's just my feeling when I look at the early church and when they were going from home to home and everybody brought something to contribute and all, So when I would do the Bible study, I tried to have people involved in and doing different things. And so I had a gal that was, supposed to start it off. And so she started off with, people sharing, is there some way, something that you're thankful for today? And so they were all sharing their things. And then, she turned it over to me for the study. And I said, before I do the study, I want to share with you that God gave me a miracle coming here today. So I told him how I got, bad morning trying to get started, finally got the girls in the car. We took off into the hills and then we're up in the hills. And then I realized, or I remember that I was supposed to get gas. I didn't have any. And God brought us on fumes all across those hills. We drove for over an hour on below empty. And then when we came down the hill, we coasted into that little gas station right there at the bottom of the hill. Pulled in there, the car died right in front of the pump, parked perfectly. The guy came out, pumped my gas, and and problem solved, and we made it here on time and everything. And I just feel so blessed. But I know that God gave us a miracle that we were able to come across those hills all that way and not run out of gas. Now, I noticed that some of these women are looking at me like I've got three heads. And I'm thinking, what, they don't believe in miracles? What's the problem here? And so this one woman who is just a sweetheart of a woman, Sharon, she says, what gas station did you coast into? And I said, well, that Butch's gas, or whatever it was called, Butch's Garage. Butch's Garage, that little gas station there at the bottom of the hill. And she turns and she looks over at Lois. And Lois goes, are you sure? And I go, yeah, there was nothing else there. I go, it's funny because, I know that building was there, but I hadn't really, I guess I didn't realize it was a gas station. And, I go, I didn't remember it was there. So I'm just so thankful that it was there. And I go, I don't know if it was Butch that came out, or what, but, the guy was there and they had the open sign on. I was just so thankful. Everything was the way it needed to be. And he came out and he pumped my gas for me and we got here, and I'm just really thankful. And Lois goes, yeah, Angie, you might have a little bit bigger miracle than what you think. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, that gas station, Butch's? She goes, that thing's been shut down for more than 20 years. She goes, there's not even gas pumps there anymore. And I go, yes, there is. I just got gas there. I paid somebody for gas. They put gas in my car. She goes, it's impossible. I've lived here my whole life and I'm telling you, there's that gas station. It's just a falling down shack now. There's weeds growing up through the blacktop. It's impossible. And I said, but I know I got gas there. And they go, oh, we believe you. But we're saying we think this is a bigger miracle than what you realize. So it got to the point where they decided, look, we're going to be done with this early because we're going to follow you to go home and we can't think about anything else. And we're going to stop at Butch's and show you. So I'm like, okay. And even now when I think about it, those butterflies are just like going nuts in my stomach. Like, what just happened? I know I didn't imagine it because I'm not driving on imaginary gas. And that man was so kind. And so we had lunch and we did, and everybody was very distracted. And so I got in the car, got the girls in to start heading home to go back over the hills. And these other ladies, they, most of them, not all of them, but most of them got in their cars and followed me. So we started driving out of town towards the hills. And there was Butch's. Even still said Butch's, barely. It was so weathered out. There were no gas pumps. There were weeds growing up in the blacktop. The windows were broke out of this place. It had been vandalized and sat empty for a long time. There was no denying it. So pulled in. My lady friends pulled in behind me. And we got out. And they're like, is this where it was? And I'm like, yes. But it didn't look like this. And it was, it's not like I went into a time warp and, or something, because it was current prices on gas. There was a modern neon sign that said open in the window. This man was dressed just like now, and he came out and he pumped gas into my car and he took my money. But it didn't look like this. And it's like, what do you even say? Even now, it's like, what do you say? How do you wrap your brain around what just happened? It was another one of those impossible miracles. And we stood there and we got in a circle and we prayed and we thanked the Lord. And this was a little, very conservative church. And I don't know that they really thought much about miracles, because there are some churches that don't think that kind of stuff happens anymore. It was back in the Bible, but it doesn't happen anymore. Well, they couldn't be feeling that way anymore. They were looking at my gas gauge. They believed I wasn't lying to them, because I was worried they're going to think I made it up, but I didn't make it up. It really happened. And they're like, yeah, no, we believe you. So we praised the Lord that day. You see, he is the God of the impossible, and he really does do it every day. And my God does supply my needs according to his riches and glory. To this day, I don't even really know how to deal with it. And I'm like, who is the man? Was that an angel that the Lord had come pump my gas? When I asked God to take care of me, did he go way over the line? See, he could have had somebody up there stop, pass me and see us broke down with gas, and they could have drove back to town, and we could have sat there for a few hours waiting for someone to bring gas to us. We could have done that, and it still would have been a miracle for us, because God took care of us. We could have come up to one of those farmhouses, because a lot of farmers, especially up in the hills like that, they have gas tanks right there on their property for their tractors and stuff. They might have had, I know they're going to have diesel, but they may have actually had some gasoline and been able to put a little in my tank to get me to town. And that would have been a provision for my need. There's so many ways that God could have done that. Even just getting us over the hills on fumes could have been enough. But he went an extra mile that day and opened up an old gas station, restored it, put somebody there, an angel or something. It's got to have been an angel. I can't imagine anybody else to be there. Put the tanks, the gas pumps back, put gas in there, to be put into my car. I don't know why he would go to that extent, because he didn't have to. But I'll tell you this. He got my attention more than he would have had it any other way. I would have been thankful for all the others, but this one blew my mind. So I don't know if my girls even remember that, because like I say, they were pretty little. I hope they do. I know I talked to them about it all the way home, for the hour and a half to go over those hills to get home. Trying to tell them, don't ever forget what God did today. Because the God that did that for us today is going to take care of you every day of your life. He loves you. He cares about you. And I'm saying that to you guys, because we're entering a time, I already said, where I believe we're going to see more and more supernatural things like that. I think we already are. But we're entering a time where we're going to need to have the faith to believe that God can put something there that isn't really there. If you watched my video on faith, and that I said that true faith in God is when all your resources are gone, and God said, and there's absolutely nothing there, and God says, sit down and you trust him to hold you up, even when there's no resources. Because there are times when all the resources are gone, when we don't have those things that we think we need. And God, He turns the light on and provides it for us. He provides out of absolutely nothing what we need. I'm going to leave you with that. And I'm not going to do all the YouTube subscribe stuff on this one either, because I just feel really, really touched in my heart and stirred with the greatness of God and how much He loves us. And no matter what our circumstances are or where we find ourselves, we can trust Him to get us through. So I want to leave you with that. I love you guys. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.